I was really looking forward and comparing the HDR of this MSI MAG271 QBX 360Hz 1440p QD-OLED monitor and my Samsung S90D QD-OLED, because basically this monitor represents almost the entire QD-OLED monitor market when it comes to HDR impact. And of course we know big QD-OLED TV is gonna be brighter, potentially even more colorful, and have better HDR impact, more immersion, it's a huge screen size. But of course, 360 hertz is just absolutely unbelievable when it comes to the gaming experience, especially if you are playing competitive games. But honestly, now after seeing 360 FPS on this QD OLED, I am just dreaming about playing every single game like this, because it is just a different level of gaming. I feel like I'm looking into the future. Okay? But of course, I absolutely love the immersion with a bigger screen size. So right now, we don't have 360 hertz QD OLED TVs. Hopefully, we will get there, because I cannot wait to have something like this with this level of performance. But right now, you need to have both if you want to experience that. And yeah, I just wanted to see how good is the HDR on the monitors. What are we missing when it comes to picture quality? And also, this Samsung S90D on HDR looks so perfect to my eyes when it comes to the white balance, the calibration, the near black visibility. It is just absolutely amazing. And it is not only my opinion. If you read from even TV calibrators out there, they say that the Samsung S90D is actually very, very good just out of the box when it comes to the accuracy. So this is not a reference monitor, but it is the reference that I have to compare with this QD OLED monitor. So if you are thinking on buying literally any QD OLED monitor, this is definitely representative, because when you look at the specs, almost all these QD OLED monitors have a 400 nits HDR mode and a peak 1000 mode, and that's what we have here. So yeah, there are differences on the calibration, differences on the color gamut, slight differences. But for the most part, the HDR impact, the experience is about the same. So I have to tell you right away, it is not even close. The Samsung S90D is a lot better for HDR impact. But this QD OLED monitor has more full screen brightness. Okay, it's like 50 nits more. And that is definitely noticeable. So let's see. Let's see the comparison. So right now, this is Spider-Man, Miles Morales. This is a picture right here. And here I'm just running the game. Okay, so you can see the difference for gaming, but I will also show you a comparison between skin tones, so human faces, so we can see, of course, rely on my description. My camera is not going to capture the white balance that I see in front of me. But I'm going to show you some skin tones, and I will show you full screen pictures with full white, full solid colors to see that brightness difference. One thing that my camera, or any camera, is good is in capturing the brightness differences. Okay, so the white balance is not going to be right, the colors are not going to be right, but if one display is brighter than the other, the camera does a very good job in showing that. Okay, so I'm going to show you that comparison. So right now, just playing the game here, I mean, this is absolutely amazing when it comes to HDR. It just looks ferocious. And of course, I can always, on this TV, I can always change the HDR to make it more brighter, to make it more colorful, and that makes a big difference. So if that's what you're looking for with a TV, you have a lot of settings. So these monitors, we have almost no options. You get what you get. And that is something that I highly desire, that these companies add more options. It doesn't have to be a smart TV, but I mean, at least basic, white balance settings, basic color settings, like a saturation slider at least, something to control the near black visibility. Those are settings that should be included on every single display, okay? So you can correct if you see any issues, or just modify the picture to the way you like it. So for example, here I can do active tone mapping and make it look, brighter overall. Okay, it's not accurate, but some people might like that. You don't have those kind of options on a monitor. I can also, with this TV, I can modify the colors, and again, it's not gonna be accurate. It's not gonna have the best skin tones, but I can come here and this, for example, we have this color booster right here. Boom, we get these red colors and we make them just blast the full, the maximum color gamut capability of the display all the time, which is not accurate, but some people love that. And those options are simply not available on this specific QD-OLED monitor. And I wish they had more options for EOTF tracking, near black control, saturation, white balance. Those are basic settings that should be included on every single display. Now, this display does have some settings, but for SDR. When you turn on HDR, you have almost no options. But they do have some options to change the picture. Like we have these gaming options here. There's a premium option. It's called premium color, that does the same thing. It pushes the colors, but I find this option to be overly saturated, but it is there if you want to use it. But you have no granularity. So you either get it closer to something that looks correct, or you get like boom, like full maximum color. So some people might want something in between. And yes, there are other options, but I think it is not enough. And then the other options that we have here are changing the colors, but also the sharpness at the same time. So you might not want that. Actually, I don't want to touch the sharpness at all. So the rest of the colors for me are completely unusable because they are also changing the sharpness of the display. So these are just not options that I would ever consider. So basically we have two options here: user or premium color that does this. So I prefer keep it in user, and that's it. And we don't have any. So when I come here to professional pro mode settings, we have like an anti-blue. We have an eco mode, which is like, why? Eco mode, I want all the performance. I don't want to save power at all. We have a movie mode that you might like it more. This movie mode, maybe. I think it is a little bit more saturated, so you might like that one better. So you can try that. We're gonna switch back and forth to some of those options. We have an sRGB mode, which is not what you want. You don't want to clamp the color gamut to sRGB because we are on HDR right now. We have Adobe RGB and Display P3, which is also supposed to be reducing the color gamut. So we don't want that. So basically here I have two options: movie mode or this user, which I have no idea what this is really. So I'll just keep it like there for the moment. And then we have this under image. We have this True Black 400 and Pick 1000 mode. So in general, let me show you some comparisons here and let's talk about it. So in general, this True Black 400 is brighter full screen, but the peak brightness is severely reduced to a point where it is not even HDR. For it to be considered to have an HDR impact, you need at least 600 nits, okay, at the bare minimum. So this is like, it will accept the HDR input. Yes, it has great contrast because it's an OLED, so you can get the same, shadow detail and all of that, which is more important. It's the most important thing. But you don't get highlights. You don't get those highlights popping at all. But most people actually prefer this True HDR 400 because the accuracy of the calibration is better, and that's what I see. And the reason why I say that is because using my S90D as a comparison, right now you can see that they are very close in this example, okay, which is good. This is actually brighter. When you have a high APL scene, this monitor will be brighter because the full screen brightness is a little bit higher, okay? It has much less aggressive ABL. Actually, on this mode, it has almost no ABL. Very, very small ABL. That's not noticeable at all. And actually, on SDR, this monitor has almost no ABL at all, which is great. You get 250 nits and that's it. But now here, it looks bright. It looks actually brighter than this one in some examples where you have a high APL, but you have no highlights basically. And now if I change this to the 1000 mode, let's go and do that. You'll see that it is significantly dimmer. So if I come here, pick 1000, it becomes significantly dimmer, and I believe that is because it is under tracking the EOTF. But I don't have an instrument to verify that, but it is significantly dimmer, okay? And I don't believe it is because, yes, the full screen brightness is less, but I don't think that's the reason. That's the only reason. So that's one of the reasons, but I don't think that's the only reason, because this is not very, very bright at all. This example here has a max CLL of 554 nits, okay? So we don't have, highlights here that are 1000 nits that are, taking all the power away. So this is significantly dimmer than my Samsung S90D. Actually, let me check the camera settings to make sure with each example that you're seeing something close to what I see in front of me. So, yeah, that's better. Let me lower it even more. Yes, if I lower it more, you can see the difference better now. This is significantly dimmer than the S90D. Now, the other big difference with this HDR 1000 versus the 400 on this monitor, and this is not going to be representative for the rest of the monitors because each company will, calibrate the same panel. Even if it has the same panel, they will calibrate it. So it might be better, it might be worse. In this example, with the MSI MAG271QPX, the near black on this 1000 nits mode is lifted, okay? Now, because this monitor is almost new, I don't want to arrive to a conclusion yet, because in my experience, these QDOLED panels need to be used for the near black to be like final, what it is going to be. Because right now, the 400 nits mode is crushing blacks, clearly. When I compare that with my S90D with test patterns, with near black test patterns, the 400 nits mode is crushing, so I would not use that yet. And then the 1000 is lifted. So with more usage, maybe the 400 nits mode will become perfect, and the 1000 nits mode might become severely lifted. So it's gonna be like kind of washed out near black. So if that happens, then I would never use the 1000 nits mode because it is kind of washed out, too bright near black. It has a more aggressive ABL, you have less full screen brightness, and the highlights, the 1000 nits highlights are in very, very small windows. So even on a 10% window, you have like, I don't want to throw numbers around because I haven't been able to test it accurately. I don't have instruments to do that. But the thing is, even on a 10% window, you don't get those HDR highlights. It's in very small windows where you can get close to that 1000 nits. So then I would never use this mode if that's the case. But I need to wait until I use more the TV to arrive to a conclusion. Right now, this 1000 nits mode is usable. I do see the higher peak brightness in the small highlights when I'm playing games, and I like that. And actually, I prefer this mode right now versus the 400 nits mode because the 400 one is crushing blacks. But that might change, as I was explaining. So let's take a look at other examples here. Now, when it comes to the skin tones and how natural they look, I prefer my S90D. But the thing is, this Samsung S90D, in my opinion, is just my taste. It is just the best and most natural looking display I've ever seen. And nothing comes even close. I have an S90C 65-inch QD-OLED too. I tested the S95C, and actually I tested in general 6 QD-OLED TVs. And with this monitor, this is the 7th QD-OLED that I tested. The S90D, all the 3 S90Ds that I tested, they were exactly the same, or very similar to my eyes when it comes to the calibration. And I have to say, this just, in my opinion, is perfection when it comes to the white balance and how natural the colors look. So now, that being said, this looks good. And I have no complaints. Yeah, if I look at them side by side, I like the S90D more. Okay, it is no question about that. But I have no complaints here with this monitor. Actually, if I compare my S90C with this monitor, with these skin tones, I might even like this one more. Because when I had my S90C versus the S90D side by side, I was not happy at all with the S90C to the point that I was like just going up and down with the settings trying to match this. And right now with this monitor, I don't feel like I have to do that. Like I'm looking at this, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't have a complaint. When it comes to the skin tones, it is fine. I like this a lot more, but this is fine. Now let me change this picture. Actually, let me check the settings. I raised the ISO a little bit. So now I'm gonna change this picture to the 400 mode. So you see that it is significantly brighter, and it's actually almost the same as the S90D. So that's why I say that I think the 1000 nits mode might be under tracking the EOTF, or maybe this is over tracking the EOTF. This might not be perfectly accurate. So yeah, but perfect accuracy for a gaming monitor, it's not that important. But yeah, as you can see here in the 400 nits mode, this is significantly brighter. Significantly brighter. It's not even close to the 1000 nits mode. You see how that looks on camera? Yeah. So this is better. This is better. And the thing is, even after more usage, if this 400 nits mode doesn't get better when it comes to the near black, and if it is still crushing, that's not a big problem. I just need to be aware of that. So when I set the HDR on the games, I will just adjust for that. And I increase the visibility near black if it's crushing. That's very easy to do on the PC with the reshade tools that we have. Very easy. Or sometimes even with in-game settings. So that's not a problem, basically. Yeah, it would be better if it's not crushing, but even if that's the case, it's not a big deal. So it's not a concern. Now let's look at this image right here. Okay. So now, if I have to tell you what the difference is, let me check this. This might be clipping because it's brighter. That's good. So if I have to tell you what's the difference on the skin tones, well, this has more green, okay, and that's not necessarily bad. It might even be more accurate. I don't know, but to my eyes, this has more green, and I prefer this. It's that simple. So yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. But yeah, this looks more true to life, in my opinion. So I like it more. But yeah, when it comes to the brightness, again, very similar. I'm gonna change now to the 1000 nits mode, because literally that's the only settings that we have. So that's why I'm saying it would be so good to have settings to change the EOTF tracking, near black, color saturation. Those are basic settings that we should have on every single display. And these monitors not having options is terrible. It's not good. They should definitely add the settings. I don't know why would that be a problem. Why would that be difficult to do? I don't understand the limitations. Like, would that add $50 more to the cost? Okay, charge $50 more or $100 more to have more settings. I think it is worth it. So yeah, as you can see here, this is now significantly dimmer than this. And I don't think it is because of ABL, because this, even on the 1000 nits mode, this is brighter than the S90D. The full screen brightness, even on this mode, is higher. So this is just EOTF tracking. This is the difference with EOTF tracking. Again, this might be inaccurate, and this might be over tracking the EOTF. And this might be perfect, or it might be under tracking a little bit. I don't know which one it is, but I like this more. And actually, the 400 nits mode looks better, in my opinion. So yeah, this is a problem with the calibration. It is not that the monitor cannot get this bright. It absolutely can get this bright. In this example here, the max CLL is 928 nits. So this is like perfect. This is a perfect example to showcase the peak 1000 nits mode of this monitor. It's almost 1000 nits, 928. So let's check this out. Let's check this one out. And then I'll show you the full screen colors. Now on this one, same. This is significantly darker, and yeah, it's not even close. Not even close when it comes to the brightness. And lower the ISO a little bit because it was clipping. But yeah, you can see the difference. It's a big difference. Now I'm gonna show you full screen white, so you see that even with the 1000 nits mode, this has higher full screen brightness, and I will show you full screen colors in both, so you see the difference, and then I will show you some test patterns. Now these are full screen colors, and I have to describe to you what I see in front of me because my camera is not gonna be able to capture this. The color saturation of this Samsung S90D QD-OLED is higher. It has to be higher. It has to have a higher color gamut than this monitor. And actually, I was looking at a chart with a lot of QD-OLED monitors, and the MPG, which is almost the same, very similar, the same panel as this one, the MAG271 QPX, was a chart topping when it comes to the color gamut. So it was one of the best. So this might be one of the best when it comes to the color gamut. The S90D is superior. It is clearly superior. This red color on the S90D is more saturated. Now, the screen size might be playing a factor, but now I can tell you in front of me, it's just not close. It is not close. This is a more saturated red. Even if this is a little bit brighter, so that might be confusing me a little bit. If I lower the window size on the S90D, so it becomes brighter, because the S90D has a much more aggressive ABL, okay? So if I lower the window size, it is brighter now. It's significantly brighter, and it's significantly more saturated. So it is not close. It is not close. The color gamut is better on the TV. So let me show you a white, so you see the brightness difference. Now that's the white color. So I'm changing the shutter speed. It's gonna look darker to see if you can notice the difference in brightness. Right now they are actually very close, very close. So this is the 1000 nits mode. I'm gonna change it to the 400. So you see the difference in, in the full screen brightness between those two modes. So have this as a reference because they are very close. So I'm going to now change it to the 400 nits mode. Let me get out of here. Let's go to True Black 400. Okay, that is significantly brighter. I can see it in front of me. Let's see how that looks on the camera. And increase. Yeah, I think it is visible on camera. So now that we have this full white, I have to say this S90D looks more white. And I absolutely love the white balance of this S90D. It is just absolutely incredible. Like, I've never seen anything like this ever on any display that I have. And that's the #1 highlight for me on this TV. So when I'm comparing this monitor with the S90D, for me, this is perfection. So even if it's not reference accurate, I don't know, I'm not sure about that. But to my eyes, this is absolutely perfect. To a point where when I see even my S90D, it's not close to this. The S95Cs that I tested 2 of them, not close to this. My Pioneer Kuro Plasma, not even close. The other plasma that I have, Panasonic TCB42S1, not close. Even my phone, my Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra, not. This is the best. So when I compare it, I see what the difference is. It's not a big deal. Okay, it's not terrible, but it is different. So now this changed to yellow here. Let me show you that. So that is yellow on the 400 nits mode. In front of me, this is brighter. Let me change the shutter speed so you can. So I'm gonna increase the shutter speed to show that brightness difference. So this is brighter, and the saturation is not that different. That's different than this with this color. So let's see the rest of the colors. Now this one is a big difference on the saturation. The S90D is a lot more saturated. It is one of the biggest difference. And actually the magenta color on this monitor is clipping. I'm gonna show you a test clipping pattern that shows the biggest difference when it comes to the colorfulness of these displays. But right now with magenta, this is a lot more saturated, even when this might be brighter. So let me change the settings. So I will be going up in brightness. So this is 1/8, 1/180, 1/125, 1/90 shutter speed. So yeah, big difference here. Now I'll show you the color clipping test pattern. Now this is probably one of the biggest differences I've seen when it comes to the color saturation. The S90D is so much more brighter. Even on this example, that is definitely pushing the full screen brightness. The thing is, it seems like the colorfulness of the S90D is higher even when it doesn't have as much full screen brightness. So you can see that difference here. It's not even close. So let me change the camera settings so you can maybe see that difference better. So I will go low. I will lower so right now here, shutter speed 1/60, 1/90, 1/125, 1 over 180, 1 over 250, 1 over 350. Let me see where. Yeah, I think in camera is not showing what I see, of course. But trust me, in front of me, this red color here, it is so much more saturated on the S90D. And my camera, of course, cannot show that. The magenta color, big time difference. Now, the green, it's actually, this is brighter. This green color here appears to be brighter. So that might be showing the brightness difference for full screen brightness. But yeah, the yellow here, not even close. The S90D is a lot more brighter. Now let me change the monitor to the 1000 nits mode to see that difference. I think it should be even farther away. The difference should be even higher. So let's go here to the peak 1000. So it was in the 400. Let's go to the peak 1000 mode and see the difference. Actually, the difference is not big. It's about the same. I didn't see a big difference. Or maybe on camera you could. So let me change the shutter speed again. 1 over 60. 1 over 90. 1 over 125. 1 over 180. 1 over 250. 1 over 350. So what I'm gonna do now is I will try to show you the near black test patterns. For that, I'm gonna turn off the lights, and I don't think my camera is gonna be able to capture that, especially because I'm recording at 60 FPS. So the shutter speed cannot be below 1 over 60. So if I record at 30, I can do 1 over 30, and that lets more light come in. But I'll try. I'm gonna turn off the lights and show you the near black differences between the 400 nits mode and the peak 1000. Well, now forget about what I said with the peak 1000 mode, crushing blacks. It is no longer crushing blacks. That's why I said I had to wait with more usage. I tested this yesterday, and it seems like the compensation cycle fixed that. So that's why you need to let these QDOLED monitors warm. Just break in. You need to use them before you can judge the near black. So right now, near black is perfect. In the 1000 nits mode, it is perfect. I don't see it being overly bright. Now let's check the 400. So this is the peak 1000. Let's check the 400 nits mode. So this is the one that was crushing blacks severely. So now this one is almost perfect. It's a lot better. So before, so just before it was crushing at 80. So from 80 to the left, it was not visible. Now I can see 76, 72 very clear. And 78, 68 is actually crushing. If I look at this one, same. So 68 and 66 is still crushing, but I think this is changing. This is changing. So that's why I didn't want to give you a conclusion with that, because it is changing right now. Yeah. So what I was saying, in case you didn't see that part very well, with the near black, I have to use more the monitor. In my experience, with all these 6 QDOLED TVs that I tried, they change. At the very beginning, you might be crushing blacks, and that might get fixed after the first compensation cycle. Sometimes next day it is fixed. Sometimes you have to use it a little bit more. So when it comes to near black visibility, you have to use it more. You cannot judge from the very beginning. Now, right now, this changed. It was not like that yesterday when I tested it, but I've been playing with it. So it seems like after that compensation cycle, it improved. So right now, well, Spider-Man crashed, So right now, I think it is doing much better than what I saw at the very beginning. The 1000 nits mode might be a little bit lifted, but I don't think it is a problem. I don't think that's a problem. Actually, most people are going to prefer to be able to see the near black details better. So that's not a problem. The 400 nits mode definitely improved. It was crushing more when I tested it. So it is now better, still not showing all the shadow details. So the last two bars are not visible like they are on my S90D. But that might get fixed. And if it doesn't get fixed, it's not a big problem. Most of these games have black level rays anyway. So we have to crush that with reshade. And at the end, when it comes to HDR gaming, I always use my eyes to tweak the settings to get the best experience. So really, it's not a big deal. If the display is crushing blacks, you just increase the visibility near black. If it is too bright near black, then you just lower that with reshade, and not a problem. So, but the most important thing is that the 1000 nits mode is dimmer, and it is significantly dimmer than the 400 nits mode, and I don't think it is because of the more aggressive ABL, because even on the 1000 nits mode, the full screen brightness of this MSI MAG271 QPX is higher than my S90D. Okay, so full screen brightness is still higher. You should be able to push a higher ABL, and it is not. It is dimmer, and I think that's the calibration. Now, this might be overly bright. That's a possibility, but I don't think so, because comparing it with its own 400 nits mode, the 400 nits mode is almost the same as my S90D. So I think that's what's right. So maybe a firmware update will fix that, or it already fixed that. I have not changed the firmware. I have to figure that out. It is not, there's a program I have to download, connect the monitor with a PC. So I will share that to see what the difference is, and maybe they actually fixed that already. But right now, the 400 nits mode might be tracking the EOTF better, but it's crushing blacks a little bit, but that might get fixed. So right now, it is not perfect in any of the modes, and we have no settings to fix that. So that's what it is. So the thing is, HDR impact, yeah, big TV is brighter, and I think it's more colorful too, which is it was a curiosity for me. Like, why would it be different? Why would the colors be different? But I think the TV is more colorful. Now, there's one thing about this MSI MAG271 QPX that I like more than the S90D, and that is the coating of the screen looks more glossy. And I might do a separate video to show you with a light source, try to see if that shows on camera, because it's a very small detail. The reflection of a light source is brighter when it reflects from this monitor than when it reflects from my S90D. So what that means is that the S90D has more of an anti-reflective surface treatment, which I don't like. I don't like that. The glossier, the better. I want a mirror that is gonna give you better clarity. So this screen in a dark room, when you have some bright objects, in my opinion, it looks more bright. It looks more black than the S90D. So for example, when I open the NVIDIA control panel with I am using a high contrast theme on Windows. When I do this and I open the NVIDIA control panel on my S90D, this black here looks less black in a dark room than on this monitor, when I use it on this monitor. Why? I don't know. It might have to do with the coating. It might be a placebo effect. But I think it is. I think it is clearly more black. So I like that more about this monitor. So, but on the other hand, I also see that if you have a bright object on screen on this monitor, the nearby pixels are lighting up more on the monitor than on my S90D. So that anti-reflective surface treatment might be helping the S90D to suppress that issue that QDOLED have. But I like this surface more. Now the surface of the monitor is very fragile. So one thing happened yesterday. I was going to change the settings like I've been doing here, but I forgot that I lowered the height of the monitor. So when I did this, I actually touched the screen with my nails, and I damaged the screen with my nails, like two scratches. And I was like, man, I messed it up. It was this soft. It was like this at this speed, like so soft, and I damaged the screen just by doing this. But I used a cloth, and when I rub those two things, one of them went away completely, that I cannot see it anyway. And the other one, it is almost invisible. Like the material of the screen seems to be soft to a point that with a cloth you would actually like sand it down. But it's still glossy, so it fixed the problem almost completely with the cloth. So it's not visible at all. But yeah, you have to be very careful. I play the guitar, so that's why I have long nails. So I just did this, and these two fingers, they scratch the screen. This one, that's so fragile. I have not even cleaned this screen thoroughly. With a cloth, I just do this with a cloth very softly to remove the particles, the dust, and that's it. I have not cleaned it with any products, nothing. This QDOLED screens are very, very, very fragile. But yeah, when it comes to HDR impact, big TV is better, but 360 hertz, I mean, just absolutely incredible gaming experience. It is so fast. It is so fast. I would pay double what this TV cost if it was 360 hertz. Double, no questions asked. It is so amazing for gaming. 360 hertz, it's just absolutely a different level of experience. But yeah, HDR is better on the TVs. It seems like the bigger screen size allows for that. Hopefully these monitors get brighter, but I think it's gonna take a while. It's going to take a while because on the TV side, we are already going up to 4,000 nits with the latest QD panels. And on the monitors, even using the same level of advancement, it's not even close to that, especially for bigger window sizes, like 10% and all of that. And I heard the justification from these monitor companies, not these companies, basically Samsung is the one that makes the panels. And the justification for monitors not being as bright as TVs was that, monitor is meant to be used, at a closer distance. So you don't want that to be very bright because it will affect the user. Like, oh, it's too bright, it's gonna be uncomfortable. And I would say that makes no sense because mini LED monitors are a lot brighter. So that justification makes no sense. Yeah, heat, power, I don't know what it is. I would say just use active cooling and make these monitors brighter. At least as bright as TVs. Use active cooling, use some fans. Gamers don't care about more fans. Gamers want GPUs with 4 fans, so who cares if you have some quiet fans on the back of the monitor. And there are actually some monitors that do have active cooling. So yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions. I think the HDR is not great. It's not at the level of TVs, but the thing is you have perfect blacks, you have QD OLED colors, which are great, even if they are not as good as the TVs. And yeah, 360 hertz QD OLED is just absolutely insane. So definitely worth having one of these high refresh rate monitors for those games that really shine at those speeds. If you can push those frames, But yeah, otherwise the TVs are gonna give you better HDR experience, so have both if you can. That's why I wanted to get one of these. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any questions.